Hi everyone, welcome to English to be Better. Today we're doing something exciting. I'll share a story about how small habits can change your life, and we'll learn it in 2 levels. First, I'll tell it in simple B1 English, so it's easy to understand. Then, later in this video, we'll repeat it in B2 English with new ways to express the ideas. If it's your first time watching, you can turn on subtitles in your native language. Just click the settings button. You can also pause the video and write down any words you don't know in your notebook to look up later. Plus, check the description for a link to my video on how to read to get the most out of learning English. Ready? Let's start with the B1 version. In a quiet little town surrounded by green hills and a calm river, there lived a boy named Tom. Tom was an ordinary student, not super smart like the kids who always got perfect scores, and not super lazy like the ones who never did their homework. He was just average, someone you might not notice in a crowd. Tom had big dreams, though. He imagined himself as a famous writer, creating stories that people would love, or maybe a strong athlete running fast and winning medals. But Tom had a big problem. He wasn't disciplined at all. He always said, "I'll study tomorrow," or "I'll exercise later when I feel ready." He made big plans, like writing a whole book or running every morning before school, but he never started. Days turned into weeks, then months, and nothing changed. Tom wanted success so much, but he didn't know how to make it happen. He felt stuck, like he was walking in circles. One sunny afternoon, while Tom was sitting on a bench in the town park, kicking stones and feeling a bit sad, an old teacher named Mr. Brown walked by. Mr. Brown was famous in the town, not because he was rich or loud, but because he was very wise and kind. His hair was white like snow, and he always carried a small book in his pocket. He saw Tom looking lost and stopped. "Tom," he said in a gentle voice, "why do you look so sad today?" Tom sighed and answered, "I want to be successful, Mr. Brown, but it's too hard. I try to think of big ideas, but I don't know what to do. It feels impossible." Mr. Brown sat next to him, smiled warmly, and said, "Success isn't about big, difficult steps that happen all at once. It's about small habits you do every day, little by little. You don't need to be perfect right now, you just need to start." Tom tilted his head, curious. Mr. Brown continued, "Let me tell you a story to show you what I mean. It's a story that can change how you think." Tom nodded, excited to hear more, and listened closely as Mr. Brown began. Mr. Brown leaned back and started his story. Once, in a village far away, a man planted a bamboo seed in his garden. It was a tiny seed, no bigger than a pea. Every day he watered it with care, pulled out weeds, and made sure it had sunlight. For 1 year, nothing happened. No plant, no leaves, just dirt. He didn't give up. 2 years passed, then 3, then 4, and still no bamboo. Other plants in his garden, like flowers and tomato vines, grew tall and green, full of color. But the bamboo stayed hidden under the ground. People in the village laughed at him. They said, "Give up. That seed is dead. You're wasting your time." But the man didn't listen. He smiled and kept watering it with patience, day after day. Then, in the 5th year, something incredible happened. One morning, a tiny green shoot poked out of the soil. In just 6 weeks, that little shoot turned into a bamboo tree 80 feet tall, taller than the houses around it. Everyone was amazed. The man explained it wasn't doing nothing all those years. It was growing strong roots under the ground, getting ready to rise. Tom's eyes grew wide. He could almost see the bamboo in his mind. He was starting to understand something important. Mr. Brown turned to Tom and said, "Life is like that bamboo, Tom. Small habits are like those roots. When you start them, you don't see results right away. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening, and you might want to stop. But those small things, they build something strong inside you, step by step. If you wait for big moments or the perfect day, you'll never begin. But if you do small things every day, even when it's hard, one day you'll grow tall, just like that bamboo tree." Tom sat quietly, thinking about his own life. He remembered all the times he waited for the perfect time, like waiting for summer to start running or waiting for a new year to study more. He realized he was wrong to ignore the little steps. Feeling hopeful, he looked at Mr. Brown and asked, "What small habits can I start, Mr. Brown? I want to try." The teacher's eyes twinkled with pride. He nodded and said, "Good question, Tom. Let me give you some easy ideas that can change everything." Mr. Brown sat up straight and smiled. "Here's what I told Tom, and you can try these too. First, wake up early. If you get up 1 hour earlier every day, you have more time for yourself, time to think, read, or plan. That's many hours in a year." Tom decided to wake up at 6 and loved the quiet morning with his tea. Second, read every day. Just 10 pages a day can be many books in a year. Books teach you new things and make you smarter. Tom picked a fun storybook and read a little before bed. Third, make small goals. Don't try big things all at once. Write 100 words a day, and soon you'll have a long story. Tom started with small tasks, like cleaning his desk, and felt good. Tom did this and felt happier after a few days. Sixth, move a little. Walk or stretch for 10 minutes a day. It's easy and helps you feel strong. Tom walked by the river and liked it. Seventh, use your phone less. Ask, "Is this good for me?" If no, do something better. Tom stopped playing games so much and had more time for his dreams. Mr. Brown looked at Tom. "Start with 1. Tom, little steps will grow big." Tom listened to Mr. Brown and started the next day. He woke up early, read a few pages, and walked around his house. At first it wasn't easy. Some days he forgot, and sometimes he wanted to stop. But he remembered the bamboo and its roots, so he kept trying. After a few months, things changed. He could study better, and his grades went up. His stories got longer, and people liked them. He felt stronger from walking every day. By the end of the year, Tom was a new person, happy, strong, and full of ideas. Years later, he became a famous writer. His books were in shops everywhere. People asked, "Tom, how did you do it?" He smiled and said, "Small habits every day made me successful. Little things bring big results." Tom learned that waiting doesn't work, doing does. Now, what about you? You don't need to be special to change your life. Just start small habits. Like Tom, they're like seeds. You plant them today, and they grow big later. Try one habit from this story, waking up early, reading, or walking. In the comments, tell me, what habit will you start? I want to know. Check my video on how to read better. It's in the description. Watch this again if you need to. Use subtitles, and let's get better together. Okay, everyone. We just finished Tom's story in B1 English. Simple and easy, right? I hope you enjoyed it and learned how small habits can grow into big success, like the bamboo. Now, let's make it more exciting. We're going to tell the same story again, but this time in B2 English. You'll hear new words and different ways to say the same ideas. Don't worry if it feels a little harder. That's how we get better. Use the subtitles if you need them. Pause to write down new words, and let's see how much more you can understand. Ready to level up? Here we go with the B2 version. In a peaceful town nestled between rolling green hills and a winding river, there lived a young man named Tom. Tom was a typical student, not particularly brilliant like the top scholars, nor especially idle like those who skipped classes. He was simply average, blending into the background. Yet Tom carried ambitious dreams in his heart. He pictured himself as a renowned writer, crafting novels that captivated readers, or perhaps a fit athlete, crossing finish lines with cheers all around. However, Tom faced a serious challenge. He lacked discipline. He'd promise himself, "I'll hit the books tomorrow," or "I'll start training when I'm in the mood." He sketched out grand plans, writing an entire book, jogging daily at dawn, but action never followed. Weeks slipped into months, and his life stayed the same. Tom longed for success, but he couldn't figure out how to break free from his rut. One bright afternoon, as Tom lounged on a park bench, tossing pebbles and feeling a bit down, an elderly teacher named Mr. Brown strolled past. Mr. Brown was well known in the community, admired not for wealth or fame, but for his deep wisdom and gentle nature. With his snow-white hair and a worn book always tucked in his coat, he seemed to carry stories in his very presence. Spotting Tom's gloomy expression, he paused and asked, "Tom, what's weighing on your mind today?" Tom let out a sigh. "I want to achieve something big, Mr. Brown, but it feels overwhelming. I don't know where to begin." Mr. Brown settled beside him, his eyes warm with understanding, and said, "Success doesn't come from giant leaps or sudden breakthroughs. It grows from small, consistent habits you nurture every day. You don't need to transform overnight, you just need to take the first step." Intrigued, Tom leaned in. Mr. Brown added, "Let me share a tale that might shift your perspective." Eager for insight, Tom listened intently. Mr. Brown began his tale. Long ago, in a distant village, a farmer planted a single bamboo seed in his modest garden. It was a humble little thing, barely the size of a pea. Each day He tended to it, watering it faithfully, clearing away weeds, ensuring it soaked up the sun. A year went by, and nothing sprouted. No shoots, no leaves, just bare soil. 2 years passed, then 3, then 4, and still the bamboo refused to show itself. Meanwhile, other plants flourished around it. Vibrant flowers bloomed, sturdy vines bore fruit, yet the bamboo patch remained stubbornly empty. Villagers mocked the farmer, chuckling, "Give it up. That seed's a dud. You're wasting your effort." But the farmer ignored their taunts. With quiet confidence, he kept nurturing it day after patient day. Then, in the 5th year, a miracle unfolded. One morning, a fragile green tip broke through the earth. Within 6 astonishing weeks, that tiny sprout shot up into a towering bamboo, 80 feet high, dwarfing everything nearby. The farmer grinned and explained it wasn't idle underground. It was building a deep, tough root system to hold its future height. Tom's jaw dropped. A spark of realization flickered in his mind. Mr. Brown turned to Tom with a steady gaze and said, "Life mirrors that bamboo, Tom. Small habits are your roots. At first, they seem pointless. No one notices, and you might feel discouraged. But they're quietly strengthening you, laying the groundwork for something remarkable. If you keep waiting for the ideal moment or a dramatic change, you'll stay stuck forever. Instead, embrace small actions every day, even when they're tough, and over time, you'll rise higher than you ever imagined, just like that bamboo." Tom sat in silence, reflecting on his own habits. He recalled all the times he delayed his goals, putting off exercise until summer, postponing study until inspiration struck. It dawned on him that he'd been chasing perfection instead of progress. Inspired, he looked up and asked, "Mr. Brown, what small habits could I build?" "I'm ready to start." Mr. Brown's face lit up with a proud smile. "That's the spirit, Tom," he replied. "Let me suggest some practical steps to set you on the path." Mr. Brown leaned forward, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Here are some habits that can transform your life, Tom, and anyone can try them. First, consider waking up earlier. Rising just an hour before your usual time gives you extra moments to focus on yourself. That's over 300 hours a year. Imagine what you could achieve." Tom nodded, picturing a quiet morning with a cup of tea and his notebook. "Second," Mr. Brown continued, "read a little every day. Even 10 pages of a book can add up to 12 or more books in a year. Those pages can broaden your mind, spark new ideas, and sharpen your skills." Tom, who loved stories, realized he could explore books about writing or personal growth. Third, set small, achievable goals. Instead of aiming to write a novel in one go, try 200 words a day. By year's end, you'll have a draft ready. Tom liked this. It felt less daunting than his usual grand plans. Fourth, tackle procrastination. When you're tempted to delay, count down from 5 minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and jump into action. It's a simple push to get moving. Tom grinned, eager to test this trick. Fifth, practice gratitude. Each night, jot down 3 things that made you smile. A kind word, a tasty meal, a sunny walk. It shifts your focus to the good stuff. Tom raised an eyebrow, but was willing to try. 6. Move your body daily. Just 10 minutes of stretching or a brisk walk beats waiting for the perfect gym day. Tom imagined himself jogging by the river. Finally, cut back on screen time. Before scrolling, ask, "Is this helping me grow?" If not, switch to something productive. Tom knew his phone habits needed work. Mr. Brown smiled. "Start with 1 or 2, Tom. They'll grow on you." Tom took Mr. Brown's advice to heart. The next day, he set his alarm an hour earlier and began with small steps, reading a few pages, writing a short paragraph, walking around the block. At first, progress was slow. He stumbled, forgot some days, and wondered if it was worth it. But he remembered the bamboo's roots and pressed on. Months later, the changes crept up on him. His focus sharpened. School assignments felt easier. His stories grew longer and better. He had more energy from those short walks. By the end of the year, Tom barely recognized himself. He'd become disciplined, confident, and proud. Years down the road, Tom turned into a successful writer, his books lining shelves across the town. When people asked his secret, he'd chuckle and say, "Small habits built my success." It's not magic, it's consistency. His journey proved Mr. Brown right. Little actions, done daily, lead to big rewards. So what about you? You don't need extraordinary talent or a stroke of luck to change your life. Just small habits, like Tom's. Think of them as seeds you plant today. They might not sprout overnight, but with patience, they'll grow into something amazing. Pick one habit from this story, maybe waking up early or cutting screen time, and start now. In the comments, tell me, what habit will you try? I'd love to hear your ideas. If you need more tips, check my video on reading smarter. It's linked below. Rewatch this if you want. Turn on subtitles, and let's keep improving together. Thanks for watching. See you next time on English to be Better.